everybody, my name is Chef Lucas and welcome back to my kitchen. And today's episode we're going to show you how to make classic homemade marinara sauce. So sit back, relax, and let me make your life more delicious. Now let's show you what you're going to need. Okay, so for today's marinara we are going to need olive oil, 1 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, oregano, dried basil, and of course fresh garlic. Now you can use fresh herbs for this, but you're going to need twice as much fresh herbs as you're going to need in dry herbs. Now the optional stuff will be the parsley, fennel seed. You could crush that up and stick it in the marinara. You can use granulated garlic or garlic powder in place of the fresh garlic, and crushed red pepper. Now, I am not going to be using any three of these because I am just going to do a classic recipe, and I just like a little bit of sweet and spice with it. So another thing we are going to need is about a tablespoon of sugar. Now, I'm also going to show you how to turn marinara sauce into spaghetti/pizza sauce. And the only thing you need to do that is some type of blender. I use a stick blender because it's very easy and fast cleanup, but you can also use a regular blender or food processor. So let's get to it, shall we? Okay, so if you've never worked with fresh garlic before, we're going to need about 5 to 6 cloves of garlic. So if you've never worked with it before, it's a little sticky, but it's so much better than the dry stuff. So the first thing you're going to do is take your knife. I am using an 8-inch Sentoku knife. So I just find it easier to chop with sometimes. But you take the flat side of your blade, stick it on top of the garlic clove, and you just smash it. Alright? Put your knife down. Now this should just peel away. It doesn't happen 9 times out of 10, but that's what you should wind up with. It worked on that time. So just make sure you get all that little wrapping off. That's all you got to do, and it comes right off. Well, like I said, after you start chopping it, it's going to be a little messy. Now, my end result here is going to be pizza sauce, because in my next video I'm going to be showing you how to make your homemade pizza dough and how to make your own homemade pizza. So for classic marinara, you're going to want to chop this down fairly fine to a minced, but I'm just going to rough chop it, like as you can see here, because we're just going to be blending it all down with the blender later. So we're just going to give it a nice little rough chop here, you know. Make sure you get stuff off your blade. Get that out of the way and just kind of go over it a couple times. And like I said, if you're going to make marinara sauce, then you're going to want this a little bit finer. But the steps are exactly the same for pizza sauce as it is for marinara sauce or spaghetti sauce. Spaghetti sauce and pizza sauce, same thing. The only difference is that they're blended down. But yeah, all you're going to want to do is do a rough chop. Okay? Now, as you can see, I have my water boiling for my pasta. That was in my previous episode on how to make your own fresh pasta, which I will link down below in the description. And just a little tip there, you know, after the water's boiling, well, actually, sorry, before the water's boiling, you just throw it into the pot, add a little bit of salt, because not only is it going to flavor the water, but it's also going to change the pH balance of the water and help it boil a little faster. So that's just one little quick tip there for boiling pasta. Now I got my pan here. I got it on about medium-high heat here. And the first thing you're going to want to do is take a 1/4 cup of that olive oil. And you're going to drizzle the pan with it, okay? Okay, now as that olive oil is heating up, I'm just kind of swishing it around. We're going to take your garlic. Now, for another homemade marinara recipe, you could also add onions, celery, and a little bit of minced carrots. And you can saute that first and then your garlic. But this is just a basic recipe, so we're just going to show you the very simple one here. But it's still an absolutely delicious one. So you take your garlic and you add it to the oil. Okay? Now you're only going to let this heat up a little bit. You don't want it to brown. You You just want those flavors to start releasing, okay? So right when they start to remotely start to tan, you're going to want to add your crushed tomatoes. Now see, the little bits are starting to do it. I'm just looking at those couple big bits in there. Move your pan around a little bit. Alright, now they're starting to brown. So we're going to go ahead and add our tomatoes. Okay, that's one 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Now the next thing you want to do is take a cup of water, add it to the can of tomatoes that you just had, okay? And you're going to swish it around, get those extra tomato bits up there, and we're going to keep that in reserve for just the time being. Now we're going to take about 1.5 teaspoons of red pepper flakes. We're going to add that to the sauce, okay? Spin it around, get those juices flowing. Now, for a tablespoon of dried basil, or sorry, half a tablespoon. And then 1 full tablespoon of dried oregano. Okay? Now we're just going to swish it around. Now this is going to have to simmer for about 10 minutes. Well, 10 to 15 minutes, depending. And now you're going to want to add that water. And then, make sure you get all the little bits out of the bottom. So now, this will simmer for the next 10 to 15 minutes. So let's get that on high, and I will see you in just a minute. Or I should say 15 minutes, huh? And as always, if you're going to let something simmer like that, especially sauce, put a lid on it. It's going to save you a lot of mess later. Okay, so now after about 10 to 15 minutes of simmering, this is what you're going to wind up with. A nice, beautiful, homemade marinara sauce that you made yourself, and it tastes about 1,000 times better than anything you buy in the store. And guess what? You know what's in this. Those other ones have so many chemicals in them to, preservatives and whatnot to keep them fresh, with quotation marks, that you really don't know what the heck's in those things. I mean, if you can't pronounce it, why eat it, right? So, in order to make the spaghetti/pizza sauce, we're just going to use the stick blender, and we're going to grind this thing down to it. It's got a nice smooth consistency. Now you don't have to do this, but for pizza, it really makes sense. So we're just going to grind this bad boy down. Now this is a stick blender I picked up at Walmart for about, I think it was about 15 bucks or so. Now, one thing about picking up a stick blender, if you want to ever buy one, and I suggest you highly do because they're so worth it, make sure you get one with a removable shaft. That way, it's so much easier to clean. You just throw it in the dish machine and you're good to go. So, back to this. I'm going to grind this bad boy down. Now, normally I would probably use a blender for this, but this is easier to clean up than the blender. You got to remember, you got to cook smart. It's not hard. Now when you're done with your sauce and you have some leftovers, I mean, granted there's a million things you can do with marinara/spaghetti/pizza sauce. But you can also freeze it, and it'll stay for a couple months in the freezer easy. And if you want to pull it out the night before or the day before that you're going to have some cooking plans going on, it'll be thawed in time. So, but that's basically it. And there is our homemade pizza sauce. And look at the cleanup on this. Oh yeah. One last cook for you guys. Always keep a sink full of water. That way you can just toss your stuff in the sink. And I usually do my pans as I go, but for the sake of the video, I do everything afterwards, just to save time. Now, as you can see, the final product, our homemade pasta with our homemade marinara sauce. And of course, you could add, hamburger or Italian sausage, which I would prefer Italian sausage, or a mix of the two, to my meat, or to my meat, to my pasta. But this is just, like I said, the basic version. And for the spaghetti sauce, I showed you what to do there. But look how beautiful that is. That's absolutely sexy. So, all I gotta say is, that's gonna be 100 times better, at least 100 times better, than anything at the store. Okay, so we made our homemade pasta and our homemade marinara. Now that's what I meant by building blocks in my very first video, of how each episode was going to be a building block to something better. And if any of you noticed the spider in the background, my son made that for me 4 years ago, and it's been up there ever since. I refuse to take it down. Because he made it for me. But anyway, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to pound that subscribe button. If you're a returning subscriber, don't forget to chop that like button. But as always, show me some love, show me some hate, but show me something. Either way, I'll see you on the flip side. Peace out, and happy cooking, people.